Well, hello, I am Corvette Hop, and welcome. Keep those cars on the road. Today we have a little special edition. We have Paul in his 1963 C2 Corvette. Now, Paul has honored us by bringing the car over here. You could probably see it right there in the background. And we're going to ask Paul a few questions. And first of all, Paul, welcome to the channel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing the car.
A pleasure.
Now, do me a favor. Would you show us this car here in a little bit?
I will.
Thank you so much. We're going to ask Paul some more questions, in which I'm just so eager to ask him. But before we do that, let's talk about one of the videos that I did here probably about 2 months ago. And that's the video on the wiring harness of a C3 Corvette. Being specific, the engine wiring harness. When I started looking at my old wiring harness, I quickly saw that it needed some major repair. So the best way for me to repair that engine harness, the best and easiest way, is to just go ahead and replace the whole thing. So I went ahead and looked up wiring harnesses, and I found many different ones out there on the market. But I was looking for one that was exactly like what I had in the car. One that if it said a plug looks like this, it was the same plug. One that said if the wire was this long and a red and yellow wire, that red and yellow wire at that length was there. So what I found is Electric Limited. They're in Bedford Park, Illinois, and they make the exact harnesses for that car. So a big shout out to Electric Limited in Illinois. Thank you so much for making such a great product. I would tell you, when I first put it on the car and it started up right away, each connection was exactly perfect. So a big shout out to them. If you're looking to replace some harnesses, whether it be your interior harness, your tail harness, or your engine harness, or even your light harness on a C3 Corvette, look at that and look at that video. That would be a great opportunity to get it right the first time, and that's what is important. With that, we'll go ahead and talk about Paul's C2 Corvette. Now, Paul, we talked a little bit about it before we started up with a live chat. A beautiful car, by the way.
Thank you.
The paint on there is absolutely amazing.
Yes, they did a really nice job.
So here's a couple of basic questions.
Okay.
What was your first car? And not only what was your first car, but after that, what was your first Corvette?
My first car, from a sports car standpoint, was a '76 Mustang.
Uh-huh.
And recently, only a few years ago, I actually got into Corvettes, and I bought a '67 convertible.
Nice. So can you say that? I mean, can you say you had a Mustang? To Corvette guys, is that okay?
Yeah, I hope so.
Do you get any strange looks or anything like that, or a little they get away sign or anything like that?
Most of the people that know me know that I'm Mustang, Shelby, and Corvettes, both. Both of them are very fine cars. I'm pretty partial to both of them. Well, my history did start with the Mustangs and Shelbys, so.
I think I get it, Paul. I think you just love fast cars.
I do.
Hey, by the way, you talked a little bit about the new car that you got.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's what's called a sports racer. It's an F1 prototype. It's a Radical SR8. That car is a V8 power, 440 horsepower, 1,500 pounds weight, and very fast car.
How fast?
Top speed on it with standard gearing is about 175.
Oh.
And it can be geared, as I understand, be geared to go over 200.
Man. The ZR1, the 2019 ZR1 is advertised just over 200. In fact, I heard a quote, somebody said 215.
Pretty impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes.
So how fast have you had this one? Legally now. Don't tell me about the highways. Legally.
Oh, legally? I haven't had it speed limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about 85 on
Okay, how about on the track?
Well, in Big Bend, I haven't had this one on track, but I did race it in Big Bend open road race, and probably we fudged a little bit on what our top speed was supposed to be, so we probably ran about 135 to 140.
Man, that is just mean fast. That is Amazing. Now this car has a little bit of history.
Yes.
And we went through some of the books and things, and you sent me a little bit of information before you showed up here. So tell us about some of the write-ups and things you had in magazines and articles around the world.
Okay. The 60s, I guess the first thing is a lot of people don't realize when you say 63 Corvette, it doesn't have a split window.
That's exactly what I thought of when you said 63 Corvette is a split window.
It was only the Grand Sports that they produced that did not have the split window. The Grand Sport was produced specifically to be a race car to compete in the races at that time, in the road races, and its main competitor was the Shelby AC Cobra. Matter of fact, they nicknamed this car the Cobra Killer because that was its mission in life, was to be Carroll Shelby.
Oh.
And so the intent is they were going to mass produce between 100 and 125 cars to meet the criteria for racing that it was a production car. They never got there. They produced 5 cars total. 3 of them were coupes like this one, and 2 of them were roadsters. The cars were they were originally built by Zora Duntov, and they originally had a proprietary Chevy motor, all aluminum, 377 engine. But when the CEOs found out and the board of directors found out what he was doing, they shut him down. And so they told him he had to sell the cars, so he had to remove the 377s on them because of the proprietary engine. And so he put 427s in the car. And the original cars were 550 horsepower, which was a lot of horsepower back then.
Oh, yeah.
And they were, from what I understand in history, they were extremely fast on the straightaways, but the Cobras had a little advantage on them when it got into the curves.
Say it's not so.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I would. What's the best thing you like about this car?
Oh, I don't know. I like pretty much everything. I love the history. The history's a big thing for me. Man, this car's got some fantastic history along with it. One of the actual real cars in 2009 went up for auction, and at RM Auctions, and received a bid of $4.9 million, but they didn't sell it.
That's a lot of money.
I know.
Yeah,
I think I'd have to think about that one.
Well, I would at least had to bring my wallet to buy that. At that price, that would have been I might have had enough in my wallet, probably. Not.
Yeah. It seems like the guys that own these cars won't sell them.
Yeah, I can understand why. I mean, I think for those any car in this 1963 category, they're highly sought after car.
Yes, they are.
I mean, now tell me if this is true. Now, if you heard this story too. So, it's my understanding that when they came out in '63 with a split window, that people hated the split window.
That is true.
And people removed the split window and a lot of them modified and put a straight, or not a straight. I mean, I know it still had the curves and stuff on it.
Different chrome on it.
Yeah, and took the split portion out of it completely.
Right.
Later in life, today, people want that split window because it is so unique.
That's right.
And big bucks on the market.
Yes.
Big bucks.
It's probably the #1 selling car is a '63 split window.
Man.
It is big demand for it, and if you find one, you can be assured even one that doesn't have matching numbers and is not perfect is still going to bring a pretty high price.
I can see why, because you could pretty much make it almost perfect. Like you said, even though the matching numbers
you
don't match. But
the matching numbers might be a little more issue, but there's some ways around that too.
How are parts easy to find on this car?
Pretty easy.
Good.
Yeah.
That is good. Hey, we're going to go ahead and look at this car. Now, one of the first things I noticed when you pulled up was that beautiful paint job.
Yes. The car was built by Performance West in Anaheim, California. Larry Weiner and his wife. As I understand it, was their show car. And they built it to be that. A lot of things are according to the criteria, the specifications of the original. a Grand Sports, but not everything. And there are some deviations. It seemed like the more their focus was trying to make it a show car. It seemed to pay off. The car's been in a lot of magazines throughout the world. It's done really well. It's been at SEMA and 94 and probably some other times that I don't know about.
Well, I'll tell you what, we feel special here. You brought it by here.
And actually, one thing I was real proud of is the Vets and Jets on the Lex. A couple of years ago, I got Best in Show with this car.
Nice. Well, go ahead, give us a tour.
Okay. Okay. The engine is 427 engine, and it's built according to the specifications for the Grand Sport. Little bit. I did a little extra, but not really much. And internally on the engine, the engine's about 600 horsepower.
Wow.
It's gear drive instead of chain drive, and winds a lot, but
what does that do for it?
That adds actually more, I believe, more durability and stuff in the system, less apt to jump timing, stuff like that, where the chains, you know, can wear down, get loose, and develop other problems. This car also develops its horsepower at its top horsepower at 6,500 RPMs, which is a lot for a big block, especially a big block of this age.
Wow. Okay. You know, I love the angles and curves, and I mean, it's got a beautiful shape.
Mm-hmm. If you can kind of see the interior, that's some of the things that are definitely different from the original Grand Sports. But it added a nice dimension to the car, and the seats are basically C4 seats, you know, specially covered for this car. Makes it look a lot nicer and
so
a lot more presentable from the car show standpoint.
Also some upgraded seat belts there.
Mm-hmm.
That's because of the speed?
Yeah, trying to keep it, you know, somewhat racing style. The wheels here are the brand, and then painted the centers to match the stripe. Okay, but I can't even get those wheels anymore. Here's on the side right here, and then if you notice back here, you've got all these holes where you think they're lights, but they're not. Okay, and from what I understand of the car, that one of the problems they had with the actual Grand Sports is they were so light.
Now, what's the vent right here in the back on top?
Okay, that's for the brakes. That is functional, and it has
automatically without any kind of fan or anything like that.
Right, and that's in today's world of racing. We do that all the time. Maybe not exactly the same way, but ventilation to the brakes, especially the front brakes, because the front brakes will get so hot on the track that they'll actually glow red. You know.
This is an amazing car. Try to get a good view of the top. How about maintenance upkeep?
Maintenance upkeep, there were a few issues when I first bought the car. I believe some of the issues were probably because the car was used as mainly a show car. So from a practical standpoint, I wanted to have some fun with it. I wanted to drive it and also do shows. And so I found problems like in the fuel system. The fuel filters weren't large enough to handle the quantity of fuel that this engine requires. So I had to upgrade stuff like that. But once I got all that stuff done on it, the car's been, you know,
and things like that. I don't mean all the time, like every weekend, but at least every couple of weeks, at least go out and start it up and run it around the block or something.
Yeah, I try to at least, you know, start it up or run it. If I can't go out and drive it a little bit, then I'll start it up in the garage and let it run for a little bit, you know, for 10 or 15 minutes. Now, just keep everything lubed up.
Now, Paul, you were at the car show for the Alamo Corvette Club.
Yes.
And out there, and how'd you do in the car show?
I got best in class.
Nice, nice. You know, I already knew that before I asked that question. All right, we're going to move back to the chair and the desk. A little bit of movement of the camera again. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. All right, we are back in the seats right now. Here we go. Hey, I see got a couple people on the line here. I see Ann's online for a chat. Is that John out? Johnny? Okay, he said he wasn't here at the beginning. And yes, you are correct. In fact, we talked about that a little bit. His comment was the 63 a split window, and we talked about that a little bit at the beginning of the video, in which Paul mentioned that this specifically Grand Sport model was kind of like at the beginning phase of it. Therefore, this one didn't have it, and that's why it's not that case here. Now, however, the 63 is normally a very sought-after split window car, and of course this one's special because not many of these were actually made. I hope you got a chance to see that the car, John. Absolutely amazing car, beautiful paint. Paul was saying how much the basic. I mean, sorry, the five. You said 5 or 4 cars.
There's 5 cars total, 3 coupes and 2 roadsters.
Okay, how much they were asking at auction? You said what, 4.5 million?
$4.9 million was the bid, and the evidently who owned the car didn't accept the bid.
Wow. So that means probably telling that it probably goes for more than that at another auction. So, hey John, you know, I did go to your page. I think you're the person that I looked at. I went to your YouTube page. Looked at some of your videos on there. If you don't mind, in fact anybody on this channel, if you don't mind sending me some photos of your car, and what I'll start doing is at the end of these videos, whether it's a live chat or one that I make, is I'll start putting some of these pictures just at the end, you know, where you're from, you know, what's your name and what car it is. Go ahead and send those to corvettehop@gmail.com. That's corvettehop@gmail.com. And at the end of my videos, like I said, I'll start posting these photos of your cars so people can see them. And these videos, they get seen all around the world. So it's a nice thing to do. Plus, I just love seeing those cars. So please, if you do that, that'd be cool. John says super car.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, Ann said the same thing.
Thank you, Ann.
John asked what kind of engine you have in this car.
It's got a 427. It's gear drive. It's about 600 horsepower.
Man, and you said you had it how fast?
I've had it up probably, well, I've had it probably 140, but Big Ben I did probably about, we probably did about 135, maybe in between 135 and 140.
What's it feel like going that fast?
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
It actually amazing how well it handles. Some of the things that are a little bit different from the actual real Grand Sport, it's got a tube frame, and on it, very lightweight steel frame, very strong. The car has coilover shocks, which I love, the coilovers. And we drove it at Big Ben. There was no curves that was too fast for us out there, and because the car just really handles well, especially for an old car.
Have you driven in Europe on the Autobahns before?
No, I have not.
Okay, I have. In fact, I spent, I don't know, probably 14 years altogether in Europe, different assignments in the military. And it's kind of strange because when you're driving on the Autobahn, I mean, in some of those places you can pretty much drive as fast as you want. But when you slow down, you feel like, I mean, when you're going 55, 60, 70 miles an hour, and you slow down to that speed, it feels like you're going.
You're walking.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it really feels like you're going 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So I would think the same thing maybe on a racetrack. You know, you get out of the race car, and then you go jump in your regular traveling car. You know, you're slowing down like a snail.
Yeah, I noticed it because I got other cars and we do kind of play with them sometimes. And you're right, when you get going at very high speeds and you slow down, you think you stopped almost. You know.
Yeah. You married?
Yes, I am.
And I'm sure she drives a car too?
No, she doesn't drive that one. She's
For some reason I knew that answer.
She has once, but she's I think she's more afraid to drive it than anything. It's not that she couldn't.
No, I understand that. That's like
she's afraid she might mess up my car.
Yeah, or something happened, you know, and it's like, man, that's the pride and joy, you know. It's like, I understand that fully. Let's see if we have any other questions. John said big block 427 from a 63. Oh, that's a good point.
Okay. 63 the 63 split windows were all 327 engines. They did have some fuely versions of it that were fuel injected, but most of them were carbureted. This car here, because it was built specifically for racing, when they originally built it, they put a 377 all aluminum proprietary engine in it. But when Duntov had to sell the cars, the staff made him remove the 377 engines, and he decided to put the 427s in it. All aluminum proprietary engine in it. But when Duntov had to sell the cars, the staff made him remove the 377 engines, and he decided to put the 427s in it. And so there is some unique things. One thing I probably didn't point out when we were talking about, there's a little door on the side fender of the car, and that door, everybody wonders what that's for. What that's for is that's where you put brake fluid in, because with the 427 in there, there's not enough room for power brakes. So they have a mechanism that actually allows the power unit to go kind of under the fender right there, or inside the fender.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so when it does that, you can't get to, the brake, to put brake fluid in.
Right.
So they put a door on it so you can do that.
Smart, very smart. What type of transmission do you have?
That one's got a Richmond
Okay.
5-speed.
Yeah, John was asking that question. He said M22 transmission, question mark. So
Yeah, that the C2s, a lot of them did have that. I've got a 67 as well. It has the M22 in it. So good transmission. The Richmond is a transmission that was used a lot in racing. It is not the original type of transmission that was in this car.
that's exactly what I was thinking when you were making those comments. Could it handle the torque of the horsepower, to pull it along?
Right.
And that's usually some of the problems. In fact, some of the C3s have some of those problems. Some people will swap them out and then put high horsepower engines and just tear them up.
Right, and the engine, the gears couldn't take it. Yeah, these got this transmission's got straight cut gears and stuff in it. The good side is it's very durable, very beefy transmission. Downside is because the way the gears are cut, it tends to be a little bit noisy.
Okay. How often do you drive this car on the regular roads in town?
Not as often as I'd like. I probably, on average, probably drive it every 2 or 3 weeks.
Now,
Sometimes a little more, sometimes there may be a little longer.
there's a reason why I asked that question.
Okay.
What kind of looks do you get?
It gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, I have people pull up beside me, start videoing the car as I'm going down the road. Go to the gas stations, people always pulling up, want to know about the car, want to see it, want to take pictures of it.
Nice.
So it gets a lot of attention, and which doesn't hurt my feelings at all.
No, that's a good pride feeling when you see. I have people get wave at you and all those kind of things.
Oh yeah.
And, I haven't had anybody actually pull me over. The police have not pulled me over either, so I guess I'm good.
Well, I'm glad they haven't pulled me over yet.
No tickets, huh?
Not yet.
Now,
Not in that
Mama
car.
would be upset about that. How about other cars wanting to race you and?
Most of the time, not too much. Most of the time people just curious about the car because I've never seen a car like this, and so they want to know about it. But you do have the occasional person that wants to pull up and race and stuff, and of course I would never do that. But
No, of course not. Now, let's say your car is at a stoplight and a 64 pulls up. How would I be able to tell the difference between the two?
Mine's got the louvers and on it for right off the bat. 64 there's some differences on the side louvers, and then this louvers on this car are totally different. That's probably some of the main things. 64 is not going to be a split.
Right.
So that part, if
That's
it's coupe, it'll
that's
look
an immediate signature when you see that.
right.
Yeah.
Now you did. I don't know if you noticed, but there's actually a cover and stuff for the oil cooler on the back. I don't have the oil cooler, but some of the cars did actually have the oil cooler, and on the back of it.
Oh, okay.
And that's another way.
Okay. Now we talked about this a little bit before we started the video, and we talked about when you got the car. But John asked the same question. How long have you had this car?
Probably a little over 3 years. I stumbled. It's kind of ironic. I've got several cars that I've restored, and I love old cars, and was pretty big, still am pretty big into restoration and making them period correct and doing NCRS judging. And so I like that, but I wanted to do, when I found this car, I was wanting to do something different. I wanted to build a resto mod, but I wanted to do it with the 63 split window. So I was searching for a 63 split window, and I don't know how, but all of a sudden I found 63 Grand Sport. My first thought was, there was no Grand Sports in 63.
Right.
What's the deal?
Yeah.
And so then I started researching about the 63 Grand Sports. I found out there was a very rich history there related to those cars. And so that got me more interested. And so I actually looked at originally purchasing a kit car from Mongoose Motor in Ohio for the Grand Sport, and then building it, like I wanted to build it. My wife wanted it to be candy apple red, and so I said I'd do that to kind of help convince her I needed to buy the car, right? So
mission number one: convince the wife.
Yes. So and I was ironically was looking at eBay and stumbled across this car on eBay. I couldn't believe it.
Huh.
And I was thinking, when I saw it, I said, people are not going to know what this car is.
Right. Yeah.
They're not going to know about the history of the car. And so I thought it's not going to probably do very well out there. So I went on eBay. I put a pretty big price on the car because I knew, and let it increment up.
Right.
Because I knew what the car was worth. And the car, as I suspected, it probably only got about halfway there. And of course they had a reserve on it, they didn't take it.
Huh.
So as soon as it's over with, my wife was a little upset with me because we were coming back from the Bahamas and the ship, and I'm on the computer on emailing them and making them an offer on the car.
Okay.
And then I put a deposit on. When she found out what I was doing, she wouldn't talk to me for very much, or she was pretty angry with me.
That's not good on a cruise, while. Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, it was towards the end of the cruise. But as soon as we flew the next week down and looked at the car, as soon as she saw the car, she felt a lot better.
Oh, okay.
And then once they delivered it, she was pretty happy. And since that time, she's very pleased that we bought this car.
Well, I can understand that. The no flaws on the paint that I saw. It's definitely a looker. There's no doubt about that. And I know how well you do in the car shows. A lot of those car shows I'm at too.
Yes.
And you always place very well. So, congratulations on the car. Don says he asked me to go to Denmark to fix his '69 Corvette to help him restore it. So.
I think he's getting a plane ticket now.
Yeah. I would tell you, I do love Europe. I'm usually over to Holland probably once a year, and usually that trip turns into a trip to Germany at least, and probably some other location. So with that, yeah, John, please send those photos. I'll put them at the end of this one. Again, that email is corvettehop@gmail.com, corvettehop@gmail.com. I see we're running out of questions here, so we'll get ready to exit out. Thank you so much for being on the channel. Thank you so much for being one of our supporters here. The main reason we do this channel is just to help other people out, to see other cars, to keep those cars on the road. So with that, you know what's coming. keep those cars on the road. And we'll see you next time. The next time we'll be on will be the first week of January. And of course, I'll let you know what that date's going to be.